Views expressed by Casters Guild members are only the opinions of that member, and that could change from day to day. Guild members may use mature language, but that in no way means they are mature. Listener discretion is advised.
The ground begins to shake. You look to the horizon and see a small mountain you never seemed to notice before. But then it begins to move. That's no mountain. Now it's time to run as fast and as far from the shore as you can, because that's the spell we're casting tonight on Casters Guild. Thank you for tuning into tonight's episode of Casters Guild. I am your guild master and giant turtle monster, Rick Perry.
And I am your guild master, Mecha Baron Kane.
And joining us again tonight is our guild officer, I should say at this point. Guild officer, feel free to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I am your ape with the giant axe. I am Mike. And I'm here again. I think one more punch and I get a free tote bag.
Man, we should restock those.
And it's going to be a totally canvas tote bag. Not a cheap plastic one.
Is it going to be blue?
Yeah.
You going to say Gen Con on it or orange?
All right, so tonight we are talking Kaiju, those giant monsters that grace our silver screens. Let's start how we usually start. And what's your favorite Kaiju?
Well, for me, I guess technically it's not even a Kaiju. It's going to be King Kong, who is a Kaiju, not a Kaiju. He's King Kong.
Yeah. I always thought it was funny that his name is King Kong, but they call Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Well, so I think it's always so they can have the fight.
Oh, yeah.
Did it once, and we're about to do it again. So I've seen somewhere there can only be one.
Only one king of the monsters?
Yeah.
But there could be multiple kingdoms. Who knew? Yeah. You don't know that.
Baron?
Man, I don't know. Because like I'm torn between all kinds of different movies and different classifications, things that we don't necessarily consider Kaiju, but are Kaiju.
As usual, you don't have to have one answer.
Mm-hmm. I think I'll go with Mothra.
Okay.
I'll go with Mothra as my favorite. I don't know. She has a more mystic kind of origin thing, and she's like one of the few that you can really see as good, I guess. You know.
She does the least intentional damage.
Yeah. Intentional damage.
I don't know a whole lot about Kaiju. I think I could probably count on one hand the amount of Kaiju films that I've actually seen. But from what I've seen, I'm going to say Gamera, if that wasn't obvious from my little intro. I like the giant turtle with the rocket boosters. That's just neat to me. And from what I can tell from his movies, he's a good guy, right? Like he's there to fight away bad things, I think.
Yeah, the first Gamera, he was kind of more of just a giant monster, a Godzilla ripoff. But then, yeah, he did become the defender of the universe and
the friend to all the children.
Yes, but I love the Kaiju giant monsters. I'm currently in the middle of watching one every day this month, getting ready for Godzilla versus King Kong at the end of the month. So I started all the way to the back with King Kong 33, and not watching every movie, but most. I'm watching one a day. And I was joking earlier that they're all starting to run together. I forget which one I'm watching while I'm watching.
Nice.
So you getting ready for the movie to come out? Will this be? Are you going to make it to the theater for this one? Will this be your first appearance back at the theater since the crisis?
I think so. I think it will be. I'm one shot in on the vaccine, so
Okay.
I'm thinking probably. Just if there's one movie you have to watch in the theater, it's got to be a giant monster movie.
Yeah, it's a good one to come back for, I think.
You know, and I'd be happy to watch it on TV, and I probably will. But I don't know. That's just one you want the big sound, you want big everything.
Yeah, that's the whole point, right? I mean, you got the giant monster. You want that big experience.
Yeah, I believe that I will be going back to the theaters for that one, which can't come soon enough.
So, what started your love of kaiju? Where did that start?
I think it'd have to come from just being bored on Saturday. Um, I say that because here locally in Columbus, and then also at night, but they would show monster movies during the afternoon, and then Fritz the Night Owl was our local TV movie host.
That was my start.
Yeah, he would show a Godzilla every once in a while or King Kong once in a while. So it was really that. And then even when I moved to Cleveland to go to college, they did the same thing. So
Sure.
The Saturday afternoon monster movie, just a tradition, and I watch them all the time.
Yeah, I think that was my start too. Like you were saying, Fritz the Night Owl. I never really got to watch any of the weekend stuff. Could just be because I was out playing, or the parents weren't working, so they had control of the TV. But yeah, I would go over to my uncle's house, and Fritz the Night Owl, he would let us stay up late. My parents wouldn't let me stay up late on the weekends, but he would let us stay up late, and we would watch Fritz the Night Owl, which was, weirdly enough, where I got my introduction to Doctor Who, was those late nights. I don't know if Fritz the Night Owl ever played Doctor Who, but it was definitely around that time slot. But yeah, that was my introduction to a lot of bad monster movies, including those ones.
The ones I've watched have usually been I'm at some sort of party or gathering, or like I'm over at a friend's house, like spending the night or something like that. And then their parents or somebody who's at the party is like really into monster movies, like really, really into monster movies. So that's what we end up watching. That, and most recently, and I say recently, but it was still a while ago, was when Pacific Rim came out. I was working at GameStop at the time, and everybody I worked with was super hyped about Pacific Rim coming out. So that night at the store, I was closing, and pretty much everybody I was working with was going to see it the day it came out. So I went with them, and let me tell you, I had a blast watching Pacific Rim the day it came out.
Yeah, that movie's a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh, yes. I was really surprised, and I don't want to say this in that I didn't have faith in the movie. I'm a big Guillermo del Toro fan. But he was tackling something that I hadn't seen him do before. And I didn't have a lot of faith in this movie. But boy, howdy, he pulled that shit off. Loved it.
Yeah, me and you went and saw that. I think it was opening nightmare, and we went and saw that. But we were just blown away. He nailed it.
Okay.
And, he hit the kaiju thing. Also, he could have did the mech thing, and was able to merge them together.
Which, the mech thing is also hand in hand with kaiju. I mean, what's Mechagodzilla if not, a giant mech?
Mm-hmm. Depending. Like a lot. Sometimes I think he's like remote controlled. Sometimes he's got pilots.
Oh, I think even I guess I don't know. It could just be the anime nerd in me that I consider even like the remote controlled shit mechas.
Sure. Like I said, it just kind of depends on how you look at it.
Giant robot.
But I'll tell you, when he's piloted, there's definitely no argument. I mean, like, it's definitely...
Yeah. Yeah, well, like, I think for me, like, any giant monster, kaiju. Any giant robot, mecha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, in the midst of my monster month, I've been doing some research and all into the whole monster things. You realize the giant monster's been around for about 96 years?
No.
First one was a silent movie. It was The Lost World from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. from that story, they did a silent film of that. And they had Willis O'Brien do stop motion dinosaurs and stuff for that whole. So that was kind of the birth of it. And around the same time, that's where we have Marion Cooper, that was also a director of wildlife films in the early days of film. And that's where he came up with the idea of King Kong.
I think I remembered hearing something or reading something about the Lost World, about him making that movie in order to kind of prove animation was animation and not real. Like, a lot of people had seen like some stop motion animation and stuff like that in the movies before, and people thought that they weren't doing animation, that they were like filming some sort of puppetry or something like that, because they didn't believe somebody could actually animate an inanimate object. So he made dinosaurs just to prove, well, we definitely aren't filming dinosaurs. This is definitely animation. So, yeah, I think
Well, old attitudes like that, it blows my mind. Like thinking how I am now, it's like, how did you people think that way? How? Well, I mean, but then it just goes into the whole War of the Worlds thing. It's like, how did you people believe that?
and the people who ran screaming from the theater, like for that train, like the first time they put moving pictures up on screen, because they thought a train was going to come crashing through the theater.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Oh yeah, the beginning of films got some wacky stories, and you hear the same thing even when TV people didn't understand TV either. How that worked? That little man in a box.
I also heard, I think, on that same video, because it was a video I was watching about this new Godzilla versus King Kong coming up, that the first Godzilla King Kong versus King Kong happened due to technically some copyright infringement. Like, the people who were doing Godzilla, no, vice versa. I think of the people who were doing.
It was supposed to be King Kong versus Frankenstein first.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so it was written as King Kong versus Frankenstein, and one of the people in that studio just kind of stole that script and took it over to the Godzilla studios and just replaced Frankenstein with Godzilla without permission from Universal or whoever was making King Kong at the time. And then it did so well that they just kind of continued it.
Well, it did so well too that it put Godzilla on the national stage as well.
Right.
Because like he was just kind of like a Japanese phenomena at that point, and like outside of Japan, no one really knew about him.
Well, Toho got the rights. Toho took the script and made their Godzilla versus King Kong, kind of sort of with RKO's permission.
Gotcha.
And it worked well enough. And they was hoping to do a whole bunch of those, and Toho was hoping to keep Kong, but RKO said no. But they did make one more movie, which was King Kong Escapes. That was King Kong Escapes. That was in '67, and
jeez,
that is ridiculous. It's funny, Brett. Barrett already brought that up. Doctor Who. Doctor Who is the villain of King Kong Escapes.
Wait, the character, or like one of the actors?
A character named Doctor Who.
Okay.
So it wasn't the Doctor. It was.
It was just a doctor.
Gotcha.
But that movie is ridiculous.
Can we also agree
that
that Doctor Who sounds like a Bond villain?
Yeah. Yeah, that I'm kind of. They made me stop and think. I was like, "Isn't Doctor Who a Bond villain?"
Doctor No.
Yeah.
Doctor No.
Yeah, but it did make me stop and think for a second, though. I was like, "Wait, hold on."
So you know that Bond villain, Doctor Who? No. What? No. Well, what is it then? No. Well, if you're not going to answer me.
But in King Kong Escapes, if you've never seen it, it's worth just pulling up some pictures. They have Mecha-Kong or Mechanic-Kong.
Oh, that one. That's Kong Escapes.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Mecha Kong.
Yeah, and it is ridiculous. He has some kind of mind control over King Kong, and it's a mess. It's a ridiculous, wonderful mess. As a lot of these 60s and 70s movies, they are.
Yeah, it's funny because like seeing some of the storylines, you realize that it's just like today. They only went with what was easy. It's like, oh, mind control on animals works in other movies, so we'll just do it in this one.
A lot of times Toho couldn't decide if they wanted to be a serious movie or if they wanted to make a franchise for kids. And they just jumped around all over the place.
That is very apparent.
I mean, start with the first Godzilla in 1954. That's Godzilla's a representation of the nuclear blast.
Yeah.
And what had happened to the Japanese people. Then you go forward about 20 years, and the ridiculous ones, All Monsters Attack in 1969, is the whole thing takes place in his mind, like out of St. Elsewhere. It's just out there and weird, and so the Toho couldn't get a normal path of what they want to do with Godzilla.
Yeah, I think actually the modern what they're doing now with the Godzilla King of the Monsters, now Godzilla versus Kong, it's probably the most coherent storyline they've had so far. Sad enough to say.
Well, yeah. I could say in our lifetime, they also had a bit of a trouble trying to figure out what they wanted to do with Godzilla.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Like Godzilla 2000, Godzilla, was it Shin Godzilla?
They did really good with Shin Godzilla.
Yeah. Shin Godzilla was the one that, like, if you're throwing stuff at a dartboard until it sticks, Shin Godzilla is the one that sticks. But, like, every other Godzilla movie that came out, at least that I can remember in my lifetime, didn't do so well box office.
No,
for the most part, no.
Yeah, the Matthew Broderick one was definitely a tank.
The Millennium series, like you're talking about, from 2000 up to 2004 or something, they were more serious, but then they end up being just ridiculous as well.
It's like they were trying to be serious and missed the mark, and because you gotta do one or the other. Like, you have to either decide that you're gonna be goofy and then go for it, or go hit the mark on your seriousness. But if you're going for one and you hit the other, then that's a bad movie.
Yeah, like in the Final Wars, they had, I forget, 12 monsters, I think, at various levels of finishing.
Jeez.
That's the one. The tourist known as where they had Zilla, the American Godzilla from '99, and he shows up and he's in the movie for maybe 5 seconds.
Jeez.
He shows up and regular Godzilla hits him with a tail, and he goes into the Australian Opera House. They're not a fan of the '99 Godzilla.
Yeah, I bet not.
But as a Godzilla movie, it's not good. But if you're just talking giant monster movie, it's fine. Yeah. It's workable. Yeah. I can live with it. It just that name doesn't.
Yeah, it's almost like someone had a good idea for a giant monster movie, and they just wanted to slap the Godzilla name on it just to draw people in.
Right.
Which, I'm noticing, like, I get the whole artistic integrity of an artist, and I'm seeing this a lot in, like, the Marvel movies and stuff nowadays. You have people that want to come in and they want to make their own movie. They have their own vision and stuff, but they don't take into account that this is someone's property. And they don't, I don't know, they don't want to treat it the way it deserves to be treated. They want to make their own thing. And I think that's where a lot of movies, there are some times where it pays off, let me tell you, but there's a lot of times where it just tanks. And I think Godzilla is one of those. The '99 Godzilla is one of those instances.
Yeah, they went way out of their way to do some. Well, there's a whole storyline with the mayor, and they do a parody of Siskel and Ebert. I don't know why. I don't know why, but that's a parody. They run that through the whole movie, and I'm like, the director just had a grudge, I guess. They decided to put that into his movie.
It's funny when you see those kinds of things outside of the time that they were released, and even sometimes during the time that they're released, because they're making a reference that possibly someone who like saw it around that time would be like, oh yeah, that's why that's there, and then like you're watching it however many years later, and you're like, that didn't age well because I have no idea what's going on here or why they would make this decision.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure a lot of the younger kids that they start watching now, they don't know what Cisco and Ebert is, and it's going to be completely lost on them, that whole storyline.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see the '76 King Kong?
Is that the one with? I've seen it. Yes. Wait. Yes.
That's got Jeff Bridges, Charles Grodin, Jessica Lange. They're
that's
the
actually
name.
If I'm not mistaken, that's the first King Kong I saw.
That's very possible. I know Fritz would show that occasionally on Friday or Saturday. I just recently, watched that in my Monster Month thing, and that movie, it's different.
Did it not age well? It was great when I first saw it.
Well, there's a couple things. That movie does not have the Empire State Building. He climbs the Twin Towers.
Oh,
Which, yeah, because the thing is, it resembles his mountain where he lived on Skull Island. So that's why he climbed the Twin Towers, and they do this big thing where he jumps from one tower to the other, which was really cool.
Yeah, I imagine that probably made for some really neat visuals.
Yeah, it worked out well. And, a few interesting points of that is it was supposed to be a giant mechanical King Kong. They built this giant robot, and it didn't work. It only made it in the movie for a few seconds, and even that's terrible.
that was the hand, right?
No, it's a full size giant.
Oh, the whole thing made it in there, not just okay. Because I remember the hand.
The hand, well, they built the hand in '33, and I think, and in this one too, they've always had a hand. But this is, and it's towards the end of the movie. It's before King Kong escapes, in New York. He's in this giant, I don't know, bodice thing that holds him in, and he looks terrible. But other than that, it is Rick Baker is in the suit for most of the movie. It's a completely different plot from '33. It's all about oil. They're trying to find oil on Skull Island, and then they run into King Kong. Well, they actually run into Jessica Lange first, just floating on the ocean, just floating as you do. And then it's kind of the normal story. The weird part to me, what I was watching is when Jessica Lange finally gets with, her name is Dwan. When Dwan finally meets Kong, there's some sexual tension there. And there's a really odd scene where King Kong makes his move. He's trying to undress her.
Shoot the shot, huh?
It's awkward. That was in '76, and then for some reason they thought 10 years later they needed to do a sequel. That's King Kong Lives. And that's when there's a female Kong, and
man,
that one's a mess. That's got a mechanical heart, so it's the original Kong with a mechanical heart. And there's a baby involved, and it was the sequel no one asked for.
Yeah, I missed it completely. I may keep missing it.
I wouldn't say I'm missing
it. I don't know if it's the case with King Kong, but sometimes studios just pump out a movie to keep the rights to something.
Yeah, that might have been it.
They're like, we don't care if it's garbage. We don't care if it makes money. We don't care how little of a budget the movie has. Just put out something with the name on it. So we can, and sometimes they'll even take scripts that are supposed to be for other movies, and they're like, just throw a giant ape in it. It's fine.
That's what they did with Roger Corman's Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Just make it. We're not going to release it, but just make it.
Yep, just make it, just so we can hold on to that license.
Yeah, that was the 76 and the 86 King Kong. Then, then we got King Kong 2005 with Peter Jackson.
I saw that one because, that was, let's see, I graduated in 2005. So that's my time period when I was watching movies, and that one had a lot of media hype behind it.
Did I remember I've seen it several times, and if it's Peter Jackson, he's got to have that almost 4-hour version.
Yeah,
that comes out later. And I enjoy a 3.5-hour version of King Kong. But I can understand why some people don't. It's a lot of movie.
It was definitely pretty.
Is it a significant difference between the theatrical release?
There's a lot more on the island. There's a bigger. There's more dinosaurs. There's another. The brontosaurus stampede's a little bit longer.
Sure.
And there's some extra stuff on the boat that is not needed. That was, but some things it does. I think the theatrical cut is just fine, but I'll take as much dinosaurs Kong as I can take.
That's fair.
I can go get a snack during the boring parts.
You mean the human parts?
Yes.
Oh, well, what's your feelings on like them trying to push that human element into these movies?
I think they were trying really hard with the Peter Jackson one to make it entertaining, which is why they had the cast that they had. They're like, if you're going to be looking at a human, let's choose somebody interesting, and that's why they cast like Jack Black. They're like, let's cast somebody goofy to see if they can make the human part interesting.
Everyone still kind of is intrigued by that casting choice, but really, if you're going to choose someone to be a sleazy film director, Jack Black is not a terrible choice. He's kind of got that smooth talking, but he can smooth talk you, but you look at him, he's up to something.
Hey, he started out his film career as a villain in Never-Ending Story 4, I believe.
There was a 4?
It was 4 or 3. I believe there were 4. But yeah.
Why didn't the Never-Ending Story end at 1?
Are you kidding? It's never ending. They're still making sequels. Like the last one just came out last weekend.
I think we're up to 82 now.
Yeah.
But like in terms of like the human element, though, I know, like I had a bit of an issue with the first Godzilla, of the more recent Godzillas.
The 2014.
Yes, that would be it.
Okay.
I don't know. I just think they just did too much. They focused too much on the human element. I had the same issue with like Transformers, which I could argue is a kaiju movie as well.
You could, absolutely.
It's a mech movie.
Okay.
A mech.
All right. They're giant robots powered by consciousness.
I would say you could argue that it's a kaiju movie because they're not like built robots. They're aliens that happen to be made from robot parts, but they are living beings. But anyway, I'd heard a lot of the same complaint coming out of that 2014 Godzilla. Like, I've heard a lot of people say, did you plan on putting Godzilla in your Godzilla movie? Yeah.
So this is an interesting fact about that movie. On purpose, Godzilla is in that about, I think it's within a few seconds of how much he was in the original Godzilla in 54.
Okay.
53. So in most of these movies, Godzilla's not in there very long, mostly because filming those scenes is hell, especially with the man in suit days.
I can totally get that, yeah.
So you can get 20, 30 minutes tops maybe out of action. You got to spread that over 90 minutes. You got to find something to do to stretch that out a little bit, but some movies do it better than others.
Yeah,
The other thing is, I could see. I mean, like if you've got your wide shot of Godzilla stomping through the city and smashing buildings, yes, that's exciting. But by how many buildings does he smash before it gets to start getting a little boring? Where you see him step on the third building in a row, and you're like, "All right, still cool, but saw you do that 3 times now. What else you got?" You know. So I could kind of see that.
And I can only imagine, because it's like, he's not just standing there. This dude in this heavy rubber suit is actually physically exerting himself.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'd be pretty tired after, 2 minutes.
Yeah. And that's just the takes that work.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Not the take after take of, the lighting goes down or someone breaks sound or.
Oh, man, I'd be so pissed. If I was in that
Any other.
suit, they're like, cut. Oh, no. Keep going.
Not
We're
to
going to
mention
end this shit.
you've got to reset all the miniatures and all that. It's a mess.
So mad.
Yeah, I know the guys that were in the suit. No one ever died in the suit, thankfully, but there was a lot of exhaustion, and they would have in the later '70s movies. There would be a couple guys, and they would just kind of interchange. Once guy almost died, then they would change, almost kill the second.
Then they look back at the first guy and they're like, "Hey, you good yet? Okay, good."
The Godzilla suit was okay. At least you got to be on standing normal.
Mm-hmm.
The guy in the Anguirus suit, but from the Godzilla Rage Again and several other movies, that guy's on all fours running around.
Oof.
And that's going to be awful on your back and knee.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Everything else.
Yeah, they didn't do a lot of stuff for comfort back then.
No. At least now with CGI, you can just do whatever you want.
Right.
Yeah. You just got to have the animation budget for it.
Well, unless Andy Serkis is involved.
We'll do both.
Right. All
We'll
right,
have
Andy,
him.
it's gonna be all CGI. We're going to need you to crawl all over this bitch. Just get to going. Let's put those ping pong balls on you real quick.
Though I do think he did a phenomenal job in the 2005 Kong.
Yeah.
Which was the most realistic ape version of all the Kongs.
Yeah, I watched a lot of stuff that was talking about how much research he put into doing Kong. Like gorilla mannerisms and stuff. So yeah, that was really interesting.
But I'd seen a behind the scenes about that, and they casted him towards the beginning of Lord of the Rings or the end of the Lord of the Rings stuff. He got cast for that. They took some time off, but Peter Jackson calls Andy Serkis to see, hey, where are you? And he's in Africa watching apes in the mountains of Africa to learn how they move. It paid off because he's a fantastic.
Yeah.
That's dedication right there.
What? He got a whole trilogy of movies after that, off of that too.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure he was, wasn't he Caesar in the Planet of the Apes movies?
Yes. Yep. Funny. So we get, yeah.
Well, once you know a guy who can move like an ape, you're like, well, if we're going to make a movie about apes, who's definitely need to call this guy?
That's true. It's either that or Roddy McDowall, and I don't think that he's an option anymore.
No, not at the speed they wanted.
Right. Action scene, go.
Stunt double.
Stun ape.
No stun ape.
No stun ape? Damn it.
No, we almost killed him in the last scene. So
oh, no. It's just a literal chimpanzee. That's all the stuff.
Now, I'll keep going back here to my notes. They're in the 70s, 72 through 75. That's when they really start putting a lot of different monsters in one movie. And there were some movies that were almost like tag team wrestling matches.
Okay.
And one comes to mind was the 73. It's Godzilla versus Megalon. It ended up being Godzilla. Well, it's Megalon and Gigan, who was in the previous movie. So they brought him back. And these are two kind of, they actually reminded me of like the monsters from Voltron. They were just kind of a bit of a monster, and then they'd have metal spikes, or they had a little bit of metal to them as well. They were androids. It was Godzilla and then Jet Jaguar. Jet Jaguar is a Ultraman ripoff. Toho was they seen the popular Ultraman in Japan, so they wanted a piece of it. So they made their own guy, Jet Jaguar. If you've ever seen the infamous Godzilla tail slide dropkick, that's from this movie.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the few Mystery Science Theater episodes that they had to pull due to copyrights.
Yeah. Yep, that's a Jet Jaguar holds. I think it was Megalon, and it's very, very tag team wrestling. Like he just holds him, and Godzilla even gives like a little air pump, and then does this ridiculous tail slide.
I'm surprised that wasn't put under fair use for Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Well, I think they thought it was, and they did the episode, and then they got the cease and desist, so they had to pull it.
Probably one of those things where they didn't have to pull it, but they didn't want the fight. Like they could have won the fight, because fair use like clearly states if it's used for review or parody that like you're allowed to, which is 100%.
No. Everything they do has to be under copyright. It has to. It's not a parody because they're showing the movie. They're talking over it, but they're showing the movie. It can't. It's not under parody.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
Toho is very protective of
that too.
Very, very protective of it.
Now they did Gamera.
Well, that I can't remember who it is. It's not Toho that owns Gamera.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the different. So Gamera's actually a competitor, or they've never been on the same movie. They're
okay.
The Coke and Pepsi thing.
Yeah, I was not aware of that. I thought they were the same company.
No, completely different. You know, and for the most part, Gamera was looked down upon through the 60s when he came out. He was a joke. He wasn't serious. But then you get into those late 90s Gameras when they kind of redid him again. 95, 96, and 99, they came out of a trilogy of movies. One more serious take with Gamera. I'll put those three up against any three Kaiju movies. They're great.
Yeah, I've only seen the older ones. You know, the ones that are the funny ones.
Yeah, these movies are fantastic. They're well shot, great special effects, and you know that's an era where Godzilla was really not around much. So he filled a pretty big need and did well.
Very nice.
That's really cool. Just to kind of speak on the video game side, a lot of my Kaiju experience comes from an old arcade game called Rampage. I don't know if you guys ever played that one.
Yeah.
I've been known to, yeah.
Great game.
And then they had the tabletop game of the same name that was forced to change its name because of the video game.
Oh, I didn't know it was called Rampage 2.
Yeah, it was called Rampage, and then they had to change it to like Terror in Meeple City or something like that.
Yeah. It's a strange little game.
Yeah, it actually has a little bit of more tactile mechanics than your average tabletop game.
Yeah, it's kind of like you place the boards on these little blocks, and that's we can.
And then most recently, I don't even know if you can call it a full game as much as you could call it like a DLC, but Nintendo didn't release it as a DLC. But Nintendo recently re-released Super Mario 3D World and packaged in with it Bowser's Fury, which was a small kind of thing. And when the trailer for it came out, people were calling Bowser God Killer Bowser because he was a kaiju-sized Bowser. He would take up the entire screen and like half the world, and they ended up calling him Fury Bowser. And then Mario gets to kind of turn giant as well into a giant cat Mario in order to take him down. And I just beat that one not that long ago, played it through to 100%. And it was a ton of fun trying to take down. And well, actually, I thought it was actually more fun before you could actually size up and fight him, and when you were trying to run to the different parts of the level and trying to avoid the giant Bowser. But it was fun trying. It was fun taking him down too.
Yeah. Well, at times in that game, you needed Fury Bowser to open parts of the level up.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of, and some of those areas were not easy. And then you throw him, Fury Bowser, throwing fireballs and raining fire above you. Boy, that was fun. I beat it too. It's a great DLC. It's more DLC than about 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours of gameplay, I think.
Yeah, about that.
Well, we talked about the video games. There was the old King of the Monsters, I think it was called, or it'd been a mid '80s arcade where you had the whole little city and you had different little monsters you could be. You see it a lot on the retro arcades. You can play them online. I see them. That was a fun game.
There was a really, really popular one for the GameCube as well. I don't remember what the title of it was, but it was a fighting game, like a one-on-one fighting game. You could play as all the major kaiju monsters.
And then as far as Godzilla games go, there was the original one on NES, and it was weird because it almost looked like a chessboard, and you would have Godzilla, Mothra, and you could move, and then you would do this kind of a side-scrolling level.
I think I remember that one.
Yeah, there'd be a side-scrolling level, and it was weird because like Mothra would like poop out wings or something. That was how he attacked the ground. It was really strange. And then you would have to fight a monster at the end. It was incredibly tough, as a lot of NES games were. But I remember liking it as a kid. And then there's a whole lot of bad Godzilla games.
I bet.
Yeah, the one I was just talking about, I got the title. It's Godzilla Destroy All Monsters for the GameCube. It was reviewed on average like 5 out of 10, like not very well, but it did have a bit of a cult following. Like there were a lot of people who played that game well after the GameCube was no longer a current system, or just had a GameCube just for that game.
The PS4 Godzilla is kind of similar, where it is reviewed pretty poorly. I own it. The game is not nearly as bad as the ratings. It is repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to go blow something up, and then a monster in the field. But have you ever watched the Godzilla movie? They're also very repetitive. Let me tell you, I'm about 16 days into a marathon. They're very repetitive.
That's kind of the point, though, right? I mean, people aren't watching these movies a lot of the time to get something new. When you go to see a Godzilla movie, you know what to expect, and that's kind of a good thing in this particular genre, if you will. Like people know what they want out of a Godzilla movie, and if you try to do something different, that's what's going to anger the fans in this case.
Yeah, no, just give them Godzilla, and if you don't like it, that's fine. On the board games, I have some other ones here. More recently, one just came out last year is a Godzilla Tokyo Clash game from Funko Games. You can usually find this anymore. It's about between $15 and $18. You can find it. It's a good game. It's some great minis. Comes from Funko Games, so it's got some great minis with it. Pre-painted, so you don't have to worry about that. Kind of a card battle game, not card battle. Playing cards out of your hand and fighting people and throwing tanks But if you're talking giant monster battle board game, King of Tokyo is probably the king.
Yeah.
As far as that goes, it's a great, great board game. It plays a ton of people, at least 8. I know. And there's really no reason why you couldn't play more.
Yeah, as long as you've got the expansions to have more of the
Right.
monsters. Yeah, I
Right.
still love that game.
Yeah, they released last year. They released a dark version of the
Mhm.
game, and it's everything just kind of got a darker theme and a little more menacing, and monsters look a little more evil, and it has a little mini expansion allows you to get more powers easier when you roll like 3 1s or 3 2s. It's a dice game, very similar to Yahtzee. If you're
Mhm.
playing Yahtzee, you are good to go for King of Tokyo.
It's had a lot of expansion. They also released King of New York, which is very similar game. I mean, it's got some different mechanics to make it a different enough game. But you got King of New York, and then a ton of expansions
Oh yeah,
for both.
and then they started just releasing individual monsters you could buy. They
Mhm.
released a actual King Kong, and then Cthulhu because everything has to have Cthulhu.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the last one they released was a mech. It could be a robot or a robot lion or something to that effect.
Would the fish driving the giant body be a mech?
Yes. Yep, that's the game. I can't remember his name, Captain something.
Something. Yeah. He's one of my favorites. Bubbles, isn't it?
I do not know.
I don't know.
It sounds right.
Whatever.
So I'll throw out some oddballs, lesser known kaiju that you may not have heard of. You ever heard of Gorgo?
Mm-mm.
Gorgo, 1961. This is the United Kingdom monster.
Okay.
This was their version of a giant monster movie. Underrated. You can find this is one of those movies you can find like almost all the free movie apps out there. He's not hard to find. It's got a great twist. I'm hesitant to spoil it, but it's got a great twist. You see one monster, and it's not exactly what you think it is. But it's a really underrated, unknown movie, Gorgo. I stumbled upon it about 15 years ago. Great, great monster movie. If you like giant monster movies, Gorgo's one for you. Which they were, we had the Mighty Joe Young movies.
I'm
Oh,
familiar.
yeah.
The first one was in '49, and that's Willis O'Brien, one of his last movies. And it's a bigger ape. It's not quite King Kong size, but he is big.
Mhm.
But this one's got a great fight at the end in a tent with lions. He's fighting lions while it's on fire. It's a great movie, and let's get to he's fighting cowboys at one point. So there's a lot of good interaction of stop motion and live action. And then they did the remake of Mighty Joe Young.
You were saying stuff, and I was
And then-
like, you're referring to like the original Mighty Joe Young, because I don't remember any of this stuff.
Yeah, that was '49. And then there's the one in the '90s with Charlize Theron. He was the star of that one.
Yeah. That was one of the first things I think I've seen her in.
I believe it's one of her first, if not her first movie.
Huh.
She's really young in that. I've watched it recently, and I was like, wow, she's. And for some reason, I thought it was a different actress. I thought it was Jenna Fisher for some reason. But then I watched it, I'm like, nope, that's Charlize Theron. That's clearly her. Yeah, those are some good ones. Lesser known than Mighty Joe Young. And then what was it? Oh, more recently, 2016, there was kind of a indie hit, Colossal. You ever seen that with Anne Hathaway, Jason Sudeikis?
Oh, I still need to see that. Need to see that. I've been wanting to.
It's an interesting take on monster movies.
Now wait, wouldn't that technically be a mecha?
But I think it's both. I think there's a mech and a giant monster.
I mean, like, because Anne Hathaway is technically piloting that
Yeah.
monster, so
I don't know. I'm not going to be the movie referee on this one. But it's a great movie. It's very unique in the monster. It definitely takes a big left turn.
What about that Cloverfield, huh?
Oh yeah,
Cloverfield kid. Now I have to say that one of my favorite things about the Cloverfield monster is the and they kind of touched on this in Pacific Rim, but it's in the little things that come off of them.
Oh
Yeah.
those things are terrifying.
Yeah, and it's funny too because I love all of the information that never made it into the actual movie, because like they have a huge breakdown of the monster and the things that are on him and like where it comes from, and and it's all stuff online. I guess they decided not to put it in the movie, or they came up with a whole backstory for it and they just decided to leave most of it a mystery. I don't know why, but all the stuff online you can find on that monster actually pretty cool.
Yeah, well, what's great about those movies is that it's what happens during a monster attack. It's not about the attack. And, the first one, they're just trying to find safety and not die.
Right.
The second one, you've got a crazy man kind of dealing with some issues.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one's kind of in space. It's a little weird. I don't like that one as well.
Yeah, I've seen some of them, and they'll slap the Cloverfield name on it, but it just doesn't feel like any of them are really connected to me.
Now, the first two, I think, do well. Anything beyond that, they're kind of stretching.
So another, not necessarily new, but something that I would consider a really big contributor to the whole kaiju genre, Ray Harryhausen.
Oh yeah, it's a stop motion pick because Ray Harryhausen learned from Willis O'Brien,
Mm-hmm.
and then continued with his own legacy through dozens and dozens of different movies.
Yeah, like well, I mean, for me, I mean, the Kraken.
Oh yeah, great monster, great.
Yeah, I mean honestly, that's probably the first kaiju I remember. I mean, it's a giant city destroying monster. How much more kaiju can you get?
Yeah, that's simple.
Yeah, and from the sea at that.
Yes, up from the depths.
Yep. Yeah, I love the genre. I do. And yeah, there is some stretching involved in including some things in the genre. I'm aware. I mean, you could simply keep the whole kaiju theme restricted purely to the Japanese cinema if you wanted to, but I just like the idea of any giant monster you can slap. I mean, the Powerpuff Girls was essentially a kaiju cartoon.
Oh yeah, it was.
The Voltron you brought up earlier, that's a kaiju cartoon.
You could also go with one of my guild decrees from the cryptid episode, which was that Big Bird is a kaiju.
Sure. I mean, especially like if you take into account that he's probably sparrow-sized originally and then mutated into that gigantic bird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kaiju.
But regardless, any argument aside, guild decree, Big Bird is a kaiju. So.
Yeah, I used to look at Bruce the Shark from Jaws as a giant monster.
Yeah.
When they first created him, they seen what the biggest one on record was, and they went 25% bigger.
Nice.
Now they have found sharks bigger than him.
Crazy, right?
So yeah, he was a giant monster. Now he's just a monster. So
if nothing else, the attitude of that movie was very kaiju.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the line, "We're gonna need a bigger boat," like that ripped straight out of a kaiju movie. I'd call it kaiju. I mean, like if not necessarily because of the size, but the attitude of it in general.
Now we need Jaws versus Godzilla.
We can bring the Mega Shark.
Oh right.
Those series of I mentioned Roger Corman again. the Mega Shark movies, which were just batshit crazy. It's the only way I could address those.
Yes, we could do a Sharknado versus Godzilla.
I was gonna say I was just going to say, throw a Sharknado in there. Why not?
I just see that just the Sharknado just kind of blows through, and then Godzilla's just standing there with a bunch of little sharks all over him. Roll credits.
Just brush himself off.
It kind of reminds me of the very famous Godzilla meets Bambi cartoon.
Oh man,
Just
that was quick. That was a quick cartoon.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know about that one.
Look it up online. It won't take much time.
Yeah,
I think if I could find that on YouTube quickly enough, I might link that one into the description.
that's fair.
Like, I'm going to talk about the Shin Godzilla a little bit. You know, it came out, was that 2016? You know, that won the Japanese Oscar?
I was aware.
Yeah, surprisingly. I mean, at least to us
Yeah.
here
Oh
in
yeah.
America, we're like, really? That movie?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Anybody else that's not really aware of everything, you know, you think, okay, put this up against any movie in an American judging panel is the words I was looking for. There's no way. There's no way it would fly. We know it.
Yeah.
I mean, look what Lord of the Rings had to do to win an award.
Right. Right.
Get that nerd shit out of my award show.
Anyway, now Guillermo del Toro did convince him to, you know, to give an Oscar to the fish fucking movie, Shape of Water.
True. That's true.
So, you know,
Oh,
anything's
yeah.
possible.
That's a whole other episode, though. Monster fucking, that's a whole other episode.
That's at least a two-parter.
Right.
Oh, don't set us up for that, please. All of a sudden, we get an audience, and they're like, "Where's the monster fucking episode?"
I guess we'll have to do it if we get enough requests. I mean, I doubt we will, though.
Hey, I want that tote bag.
The monster fucker tote bag? We'll make them if anybody wants them.
castersguild@gmail.com, I guess.
Oh. So what we'll talk about with Shin Godzilla, where 54 was about, you know, the nuclear, having to deal with the results of a nuclear bomb being dropped on them. Shin Godzilla was kind of the Japanese retaliation, or not retaliation, the Japanese talking about how they still are restricted from World War II. They don't have, not able to have an army, not able, you know, to have a lot of things a lot of countries do just because of the treaty from World War II. And that's the movie's all about how Japan wants to fight Godzilla, but they're not allowed. They can't do it. And of course, the Americans are just going to drop another bomb on him, which they don't want to get. So it's them fighting back to have the ability to fight for themselves. And I think that's why it was popular to their people. And we could have go back and go, oh, they're not allowed to have an army? Because, you know, history, who reads that anymore?
Yeah, I will say that Godzilla has definitely been one to bring up some pretty big, hefty problems that have been dealt to the Japanese people. And, you know, people took the time to actually get where these movies are coming from. It's definitely eye-opening.
It's a very unique way. Like, if you look at the 54, 53, 54 version of Godzilla, I keep saying it that way because the Gojira version, which is the Japanese version, came out first, and then a year later they did Godzilla King of the Monsters with Raymond Burr as Steve Martin, which I always found kind of funny. His character was named Steve Martin.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, but you're watching that, and yeah, it's just to show the horror that, you know, just the common person had to deal with from the bombing. And, you know, these came out in the early 50s. Well, this is less than, I think it was 6 or 7 years, but less than 10 years from the end of the war. So for them to be able to start making movies again. It was actually a feat among itself. Then to tell a story like this to try to show everyone, hey, we're not all the military. A lot of people, innocent people, died.
If you were just able to start making movies again, how could you make a movie about anything else?
Yeah, but and it was probably ingenious to come up with Godzilla to tell it,
Oh yeah,
because everyone's going to go, oh, that's cool, and then you're like, oh, that's what that's about.
that original design, the head of Godzilla even kind of looked a bit like a mushroom cloud. It was not subtle.
Now, did you guys see the Kong Skull Island,
Yes.
the more recent one?
Yes. I loved that. Loved it. Rick hated it, apparently.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
Oh, okay. I just saw the head shake. I'm like, oh, he hated it.
Yeah, that one's really, really fun. Granted, I haven't noticed. I kind of like all these movies, so they're all really fun to me. But
I kind of feel bad because I haven't seen Skull Island. I haven't seen Shin Godzilla. I haven't seen any of the really new stuff. I think the last Godzilla movie I saw, the last Kaiju movie I saw would be Pacific Rim. And the last Godzilla movie I would have seen was like the 99. So, yeah, I haven't seen those. Oh, and last King Kong one I saw was the 2005 one. So I think maybe I should put some effort into seeing some of these movies, because this whole Godzilla versus King Kong hype is huge. Like, I think I might actually have to put some effort into seeing some of these newer movies and then go see the new one.
Definitely.
yeah.
I will say that as much as I will complain about the first newer Godzilla and the human element, that's purely a personal bias, and it comes specifically from, like I said, the Transformers thing, where they just feel the need to shove humans into a movie so that we know the human element of it. And it's like, well, if you were a good enough storyteller, you could tell the human element through a giant robot too, so shut the fuck up. But it was good. It was good, and I actually really enjoyed the Godzilla King of the Monsters. I thought they told that story great. Had Mothra in it, so that was fun. Awful lot of human element in that one too, but I can get past it. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this next one, especially with some of the rumors and stuff that I've been hearing.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're keeping up on the rumors and theories too.
I'm trying to an extent. I don't want to be spoiled, but I enjoy a good rumor.
Yeah, I haven't necessarily had anything spoiled for me, but there is one big rumor that I've been seeing.
I've had one thing spoiled for me, but it was not. It was from looking at a toy catalog.
Oh, those are the biggest spoilers ever.
But I gotta give them credit, because remember, this was supposed to come out last year.
That's true, yeah.
So they've done their best they could to hide it for a year, and one guy slipped up and put it into it.
Well, if you're seeing it in a toy catalog, I think that means that the rumor I heard is true. Then, if I can add 1 and 1 and get 2,
yeah.
Well, honestly, guys, this podcast has never shied from spoilers. So if you want to go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, we'll just say, spoilers ahead.
Well, I don't think it's much of a spoiler. I think anyone that watched the end credit scene of King of the Monsters kind of hinted going that way, but Mechagodzilla is in this movie.
Yeah,
that's the rumor that I was hearing,
and I've seen the toy. So it was a little disappointing, but I'm like, it's not that big of a surprise, but it's cool. But there may be some other, there might be some other things. That I think this movie's pushing 3 hours long. So,
wow.
I've heard rumor and speculation and theories about King Ghidorah.
Related. It's related to what?
And possibly even Mecha King Ghidorah.
which is what they were kind of leaning towards at the end of
Right.
King of the Monsters.
Right.
So that I cannot confirm or deny, but I have seen the toy for.
Yeah, I think what they're doing is they're using the leftovers from King Ghidorah and mechanizing it and making a Mecha Godzilla.
Which, if you've seen the trailer, makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You can kind of piece it in there.
It also makes sense if you kind of understand the way they do these versus movies in this day and age. You can't have a winner between the headliners. Like, you had Batman versus Superman in Civil War. You had your Captain America versus Iron Man. What they're doing nowadays, you can't have a winner between those, because then half the fan base gets to be, right, and the other half of the fan base gets to be upset.
Okay, but to be fair, in Civil War there was a right side and a wrong side, so that's a bad example.
There was a right side and a wrong side, yet they didn't have a winner between those two sides. They end up,
you know what? I'm just saying Captain America didn't sticking out of his arc reactor at the end of the movie. I'm just all right. Anyways,
but if you understand the way they're making movies nowadays, like if you have a basic understanding, then King Kong and Godzilla are going to team up to fight something, be it Mecha Godzilla or Mecha King Ghidorah or whatever. Like, they'll have some bigger thing they need to fight, and they'll team up, and then they'll fist bump and like walk off into the sea. Like,
on top of that too, that King Kong is probably being mind controlled in some way.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, they had him on that boat for way too long. they had to have done some kind of experiments. Yeah. And weren't we just talking about King Kong being mind controlled in another movie?
Yeah. King Kong escapes.
Yeah, so why not reuse that?
Yep.
No, wait, big twist? Mecha Kong. It's not even going to be Mecha Godzilla. They just made up that toy. It's going to be Mecha Kong.
I mean, they've gotten us with Marvel with making up toys.
That's true.
Like, Funko came out with like fake pops for Marvel, like things that were not in the movies, just to get people talking about it. And
they're getting really good and deceptive with that shit.
Which is good.
Yeah.
I don't want to be. Let's be honest. Whether Mecha Godzilla's in the movie or not, I'd still probably buy that toy.
Yeah.
So, I don't particularly care, but I'm a Godzilla file there. So,
I think that's what they're realizing. A lot of these people who are making the toys is that the character or the moment does not actually have to be in the movie in order to sell the toy, which is why they can release these fake, not in the movie toys.
Godzilla filer.
I wasn't gonna touch it. I was just gonna let it. I knew it was coming though, because I watched you over there on your camera, face in your palm, shaking your head. I was like, he's not gonna let this one lie. I was like, I'm just not gonna touch it, but he's not gonna have that kind of control. He's definitely gonna bring this up.
I enjoyed watching the inner struggle.
The only struggle was him waiting for me to finish talking about the toys. Like, he was just like, "Oh, I'm gonna say it."
Oh, look at! Oh, I know an interesting. There's been some kaiju cartoons as well. Talked about Voltron. There was I guess it came out 2000 or late 99. The Godzilla on Fox Kids, off the 99 Godzilla.
Oh yeah,
that is a good, kaiju giant monster series. They can't use, the only thing they can use is their Godzilla for that weird iguana looking thing, but it's really good. It really has nothing to do with the movie. They do have some of the characters, but they're not ridiculous. So it's
There was a good toy line too out of that.
Yeah. So it's very underrated, and you ever want to watch that, you can find that online very, very cheap. I think I got the entire series for $8-9.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's and then
I
there
think
was
I think I had it on Plex there for a little while.
yeah. Then there's the old Hanna-Barbera Godzilla.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. With Godzuki.
Yes, Godzuki.
God help us.
Well, is Godzuki the worst, or is it Manila, which was the little baby Godzilla and son of Godzilla, the little bald little.
I mean, we could just smash them all together, really.
Manila's pretty annoying.
I say I don't have very much experience with kaiju, but as long as we're talking about TV shows, I was a big fan when I was younger of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And that, I mean, it's not 100% a kaiju show, but it definitely features a lot of kaiju.
It's a Kaiju of the Week show.
Yeah. Because, it's the monster doesn't start as a kaiju.
No.
They got to beat up the Power Rangers when they're, human-sized first. And then the Power Rangers have to overcome that, and then it becomes a kaiju.
With Rita's Kaiju stick?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that's definitely Kaiju and Mech. You can get them both.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you think I didn't have a Megazord, you're crazy. I had the 5 Zord toys that you put together to make the Megazord. Oh, yeah. I loved Power Rangers when I was younger, so I guess that would probably be my biggest kaiju influence now that I'm thinking about it. And the way they made that show was very similar to the way they made a lot of the kaiju movies.
People in suits.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, people in suits. And then, well, even how the American version got over here is very similar to how they did the original Godzilla. They would take the Japanese version and then cut out things, add a few American actors to kind of piece it together, and then here's the American version.
That's true. That's very true, because I believe Power Rangers was Super Sentai over in Japan. Yeah, and then they just took out the Japanese actors for the Rangers, put in American actors, and kept all the bad guys and kept all the suit stuff. And
well, I think when they were in Ranger costumes, I think it was still the Japanese actors.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay,
yeah. You could even tell because they kind of made a bigger deal out of it later on in the Ranger canon, but you could even tell the Rangers before they morphed and after they morphed and got in the suits, a lot of their body types were not the same.
No. I was a little old for the Power Rangers during that phase. I think I was in college, I think.
You weren't too old.
During the big, I was cool. Wasn't going to watch that stuff.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, maybe a little.
I was in elementary school, so I was prime Power Ranger age.
Yeah, that's perfect for you.
Mm-hmm.
I was still watching the old 60s Godzilla movies.
So we haven't really talked about the new one coming. I mean, we've touched on it and stuff, but what kind of expectations are we having for this new one coming up?
Honestly, just blow shit up.
I've always said I think Michael Bay should have taken over the Godzilla franchise.
What did he do with the Transformers?
Oh shit, you're right. I was just bitching about that.
You just were.
All right, keep Michael Bay out of it.
Yeah.
For all the crap Michael Bay gets, I'll throw out a controversial opinion. I don't 100% hate what he did with the Ninja Turtles.
No, I don't.
Especially the second one. People thought it was kind of pandering or whatever, but it's exactly what I wanted out of this movie.
When you're revisiting old properties like that, that's what it is. You just give me my fan service and get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah.
If you're making something new, then do whatever you want. But if this is stuff that's already been a throwback to old stuff, give me my fucking fan service. Jesus. It's not hard, guys.
But you want to
He
know
knows
the inner...
100% what he's doing too. Like he's not like I believe it was I read something about how in film school, like some of Michael Bay's teachers thought he was going to be the next great American genius, the next great American filmmaker, that he was going to make the next Citizen Kane. You know, so he knows how to make a movie and he knows what he's doing, but he also knows how to make money. And if Michael Bay's movies aren't going to do anything, they're going to make money.
This is where I would play the epic rap battle director person.
That's true.
Which is essentially what you just said. All these great directors and then Michael Bay making money.
Like he knows how the game is played, man.
Yeah.
Make the film for the lowest common denominator and make some money. Which, if that's what you're into, look, I'm not judging you at all. There are times when, like I said, I enjoyed the Ninja Turtles movie, especially the second one. You know, there are times when I don't want to think through a movie. And to Baron's original point, like Godzilla would be one of those times. Now, to other points made during this cast, Godzilla has also had some excellent commentary throughout it that I don't think Michael Bay would be able to handle very well, at least not that he wouldn't be able to, but that he wouldn't handle it because that's not his style right now. But, you know, sometimes you just want to watch some stuff blow up, and that's okay.
Yeah. And we're looking at King Kong versus Godzilla getting ready to come out. With everything we've been through with the crisis last year, and things are just kind of starting to turn around or not be as awful anyway. I think everyone just wants a release movie. We just want things to just blow up, be fun. I don't want nothing serious. I don't want you to try and win an Oscar with King Kong. I just want you to blow up buildings, knock over things. Give me a shock or two. That'd be great. But
this is definitely the summer for the summer blockbuster revival.
Yes. Just have fun.
Summer blockbusters this year. We need to get some butts in seats once we get some vaccines.
What this originally was.
Yeah, and the summer blockbuster is what's going to do it. Let's get some good summer blockbusters for the theaters this year.
Yeah, I completely agree for that. I do have to talk. There's one moment in that trailer that just kills me. I've seen the trailer 20 or 30 times. But when you see King Kong jump off the aircraft carrier and then it explodes behind him, and I'm like, King Kong just got his lethal weapon moment. Just jumping out of the bomb's way. It just kills me every time. Just how ridiculous it really is. But fantastic scene. Which, if it goes like Marvel movies, isn't in the movie.
Right. Or it's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Or throw it in mid-credits just because.
Right.
Yeah, the mid-credit of someone else watching the trailer. It's not in the movie.
They do a mid-credit scene of the editor sitting in front of the chair and editing the movie and cutting that scene from the movie.
So I'll pose this question. This movie is going to, for the most part, wrap everything up. Do you think we get more, or is this the end of the MonsterVerse?
Just like anything else, that depend on the box office numbers.
Yeah. I mean, if it does super well, but I mean, after everything, after the past year, I wouldn't be surprised if they have to abandon it.
If it does really well, we'll get something out of it. If it does kind of well, we'll get something on one of the streaming services for it, like a Netflix or Hulu.
I will say this: if we get more, it's going to involve a brand new monster.
An original, or another returning?
I'm saying no, like like an original. Like they'll make up a brand new monster. I can.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
Not more nostalgia baiting, you don't think?
Nope.
Well,
I
they've
mean-
already created the Mudos from the first Godzilla and the Skull Crushers. Kind of an homage to King Kong, but they were never given a name or really any story. So they've done that. And Skull Island, there's all kinds of things that they kind of show but never mention.
Right.
Same with King of the Monsters. There's a lot of monsters that are kind of shown but never mentioned. So you might be right. They might go with a lot of original creations. So that might happen.
Yeah, but if it does really well at the box office, we'll have another movie release. If it does kind of well, like I said, we'll get that streaming release. And then if it doesn't do well at first, but then becomes popular when it's released on DVD or Blu-ray, then we'll get something like 5 or 10 years from now.
Yeah, there'll always be a market for monster movies. I think people enjoy the nostalgia part of just blowing up things.
I don't know how the Attack on Titan movie did, or even if it was released. But I don't know if you saw the movie, the anime Attack on Titan. But
I'm familiar, yeah.
They were making a live action movie version, and I don't know if that ever got released or if it possibly got pushed back because of the crisis, or if it got released, how well it did.
I don't. I remember seeing a trailer, but I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was ever released or how big of a Americanization they would put on the movie.
But I feel like if something like that could do well, then we could see more and more giant monster stuff. If you could prove that you could do it outside of Godzilla, because of course they tried to do it with Pacific Rim, right? And then they couldn't quite. The Pacific Rim 2 was a great big swing and a miss.
Oof, yeah, that was rough.
So if someone could prove that you could do it outside of Godzilla and it wasn't just a name selling it, then I think we'd get a lot more of it.
Oh, they tried with the Rampage movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it did okay, but I think it was The Rock that brought people more than.
When I saw that trailer, I was actually in the movie theater when I first saw that trailer with another guild member, Brandon. And we kind of came up with a theory as we were watching the trailer because we didn't see it was Rampage yet. We just saw, the giant ape, and we saw The Rock, and we were kind of like, wait for it. The Rock's going to come out, and he's going to put on a great big yellow brimmed hat, and then we're going to get the title, and it's going to say, Curious George.
No.
Don't shake your head at me like that. You know that's hilarious. I still want that movie. I want to see as much as that movie was a fake movie that I made up in my head. I still want that movie. I want the giant kaiju Curious George with The Rock as the man in the yellow hat trying to tame him.
Giant kaiju Curious George versus Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Yes! You see, I need these movies. I need these movies in my life. Now we were just talking about when you're making a movie off of a property that already exists, that you just need to do your nostalgia baiting, just fan servicey kind of stuff. But if you're gonna departure, that's how far you need to go. And then I am 100% on board and here for it.
Well, then they can fight Paddington Bear.
Paddington Bear is the Mecha Godzilla, right? Paddington Bear is the robot that they made to try to take them down.
And then they throw Peppa Pig into it.
Yeah, and that's when they jump the shark, and that's when the series.
Oh yeah, the whole series. Yeah. Let's not ever write movies. Is that fine?
Are you kidding me? I'm waiting. I'm hoping somebody hears this and just throws money at us.
That's gold. Gold, I tell you.
I mean, I'll take the money. Don't get me wrong.
Just shut up and take my money and make this movie.
But I will write under a pen name.
Hey, if I'm the guy that brought the storybook Kaiju movie, I will take that. I mean, it's Clifford the Big Red Dog, right? Big.
And then when they do the mecha version of it, they'll have to call it like the Red Rocket or something.
So,
Now, this is why we shouldn't write movies.
I don't understand
That right there.
Why is that funny?
Yep. This is why we shouldn't write movies. There it is. Okay, so we
Right.
found the line. We found it. I mean, like, it's good that we know where it is. I'm glad we found it.
It could fly. I don't. You guys hate me.
At least you didn't do a Curious George poop. We're proud of you.
Yeah, very proud.
Well, like
So
I was saying,
who do we
go
think wins?
Well, I think you've already brought it up that neither of them.
Yeah, that's fair.
Neither of them are going to lose.
That one, huh?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's unlike there was always a big rumor that on the original King Kong versus Godzilla, there's two cuts. In the American version, King Kong won, and in the Japanese version, Godzilla won, which was false. And the same ending for both. There are two cuts. The Japanese one's a little more comical, and the American one's a little more serious. But in the end, it's still a tie. King Kong swims away, and Godzilla's in the ocean.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be a similar ending, I would assume.
Yeah, it'll probably, again, go on to the whole fan service thing. It'll probably be very similar to that. And it'll definitely be a throwback to those people that are familiar with that ending.
Maybe they'll tease another one. I don't know. Maybe. I tend to think they may tease another monster.
But they'll definitely throw a tease at the end. I mean, like, whether or not they'll ever follow through with it, that depends on box office numbers, but there'll definitely be a tease.
The one thing these movies haven't done yet that the old Godzillas did was the alien invaders that would bring a monster with them.
Okay.
We haven't done that yet.
So that'd make a pretty good tease at the end of this one.
Yeah. Aliens coming, or maybe they're already here. I don't know. They'll bring Space Godzilla or Gigan or
that'd be a
Destroyer.
That'd be a good opportunity for your original monster as well.
Yes.
You throw in an alien species we've never seen before, and they bring their original monster.
Well, when they did the Mutos in 2014, not the Menudos, that was in the 80s, but Muto.
Oh, okay. All right.
Showing my age there, but the Mutos, that was an original monster and interesting concept. They weren't spectacular, but they were fine.
Mm-hmm.
They did their job. Provided a great foe at the end when it's the 2-on-1, and then Godzilla does that epic shooting the blast right down the one's throat. So that was fantastic. Let's get into the film. That's two.
I think I'm blushing over that one. That's bad.
Twice I got you. Twice.
Oh, fuck. Oh, good times.
I may not be invited back.
No, probably not.
Will not get that tote bag.
We got any guild decrees for this one?
But I had one.
You know what? I'm going to stick with. I'll just make it official. Guild decree: the Kraken from Clash of the Titans is a kaiju.
Yeah, nice.
Simple, probably not arguable, anyways. But I'm making it official.
I can't argue that really. No, I can't think of any decrees. But I do like the big bird as a kaiju. That was pretty.
That leads into my guild decree, which now that we know Big Bird is a kaiju, and I decreed it on our cryptid episode, we now, I don't know if you follow Big Bird on Twitter, but I do, because you got to keep an eye on that guy. We have met Big Bird's international family, his cousins.
Oh,
And I will be decreeing that Big Bird's entire family are kaiju.
Okay, sure.
Guild decree.
Well, if we're going to do that, I will have to decree that Bruce the Shark is a kaiju.
All right, yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
There you go. That one is absolutely arguable up to this point. Bruce the Shark is a kaiju. Guild decree. Nice. We got all 3 guild decrees out of the way in this one. This is
it's a rarity for season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked last time.
Yeah, but if nothing else, I'm like I said, I'm not a huge, kaiju nerd. Like I haven't seen a whole lot, but I think, the crisis and everything that's been going on has, like we kind of said, put us right in the right spot for it. If we can get our vaccines and we can get out to the theater, I'll have to catch up on Skull Island and the new Godzilla movies and get some background and definitely go out and see it. I mean, I'm excited.
Yeah, very much. And I definitely agree with Mike. It has to be done in the theater.
Yeah.
I don't know. It won't have the same effect if I see it on TV.
I don't think it will. But as long as everything keeps trending the way it is, I believe I'll be seeing it in the theater.
Yeah, agreed. It was a good revisit to the whole kaiju genre. It came in a very timely fashion too, as the Godzilla versus King Kong, or King Kong versus Godzilla. I can't remember who has top billing on that. Is going to be coming out soon. If you go and see the movie or you see it at home, however you happen to see it, please jump in the comments, email us, let us know what you think, and maybe we will jump on with reviews of our own, which I'm sure will be coming shortly to a YouTube channel near you.
Mike, if people like what you had to say, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me at Board Game Goon on Twitter. Find me there, mostly board game stuff, but I put other random things there too occasionally.
And very soon on our YouTube channel. Find us on the socials. Email us at castersguild@gmail.com with your suggestions and thoughts on this episode. And we will see y'all in the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.